right, welcome back to Live at 9. As we enter the dog days of summer, it's important to be prepared and to prevent and treat heat-related injuries. The most common heat-related conditions include heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. We've been talking about this all week long, but joining us today to talk about these timely topics is Dr. Quinn. Good morning, Dr. Quinn.
Hey, good morning to you.
Dr. Quinn, you actually have a story about a patient that had to go to the emergency room for heat injuries. Is that right?
That is correct. It is so ironic that yesterday you all contacted me and told me we're going to switch my story from diabetes to heat injuries because it's so heated outside in Mississippi where we live, which is one of the hottest states in the union with a great deal of humidity, which makes it very difficult to cool down, which we'll talk about more. But whenever I get a last minute story, I call some of my colleagues and interview them. I'm like a reporter now. And I called one of my emergency room physicians, and he told me, he said, Quinn, I just saved a heat injury individual's life. He just came in. And I said, well, tell me in detail what happened. And he explained that the guy was working on side of this road in the middle of the day. It was very, very hot yesterday, as we remember. And he said that one of his colleagues saw him just faint. And they went to him, and his skin was dry and very hot, which we'll talk about a little bit more. And his temperature was very warm, and he was just unconscious. Right. By the time he got to the emergency room, he was kind of waking up, but he had an altered level of consciousness where he was just confused. He didn't know where he was. He had slurred speech. But what they did was they cooled him down, and they put ice packs underneath his armpits, on his neck, and in his groin area, and then they gave him IV fluids, which were cooled, and it cooled him down, and he got better, but he got admitted. So we'll continue probably next week with what happened with him.
Absolutely, Dr. Quinn. Unfortunately, that is so common, especially here in the Deep South. But this time of the year, it's crucial to remember to look out for the right things. So what are some signs that people need to look out for?
Well, there are three types of heat injuries that we want to be aware of. Number one, heat cramps. And if someone is exhibiting symptoms of heat cramps, usually they'll have like cramps in their legs and or their stomach. I remember this so well when I played football. We'd have individuals who could not run. It's like they run with stiff legs. And what we do is we put them in the field house because they'd be sweating and very fatigued. And we give them a lot of fluids, including electrolytes like Gatorade, and a trainer would massage the muscles, and then they go home for the rest of the day. Okay. And they return the next day just ready to go. Then we have to worry about heat exhaustion. That's like an individual that probably went to the emergency room yesterday that we talked about. It usually precedes heat strokes. The individual with heat exhaustion, he's sweating profusely. He might be a little bit confused, very tired, sometimes nauseated, might be vomiting. We need to get that person out of the heat. Put them in an air-conditioned area or under a tree, somewhere that's cooler, and make sure they hydrate. And if they don't start getting better very quickly, then we need to go ahead and call 911 because it might go to the most dangerous heat injury, which is a heat stroke. That's when our body's natural cooling mechanisms just shut down. Our ability to sweat. And like the individual that went to the emergency room, the individual that's suffering a heat stroke, their skin will be dry and hot, and their body core temperature can get all the way up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit or even higher. Wow. And this individual, in most cases, their frontal cortex, where they do the thinking, is not getting enough blood supply, and they have an altered level of consciousness. They're confused. Sometimes they'll faint like the individual that went to the emergency room, or they might just go into seizures. This is very dangerous. We do not hesitate to call 911 because somebody could lose their life.
Yeah, Dr. Quinn, it's really scary. And some people, the reality of it is that they do work outside in these conditions. Thankfully, a lot of companies are really cognizant of this, and they do try to make sure their employees are getting time breaks, their time off inside the air conditioning and drinking lots of water, but other ways, maybe you're just at home and you need to be outside to get some yard work done. But in general, how can we try to avoid heat injuries, especially during weeks like this where we have excessive heat or extreme heat warnings and heat advisories issued?
Well, you said it perfect. Avoidance is the best cure for any medical condition. Prevention. So it's best, like me, I live in a neighborhood with a lot of retired individuals, and when I'm driving to work in the morning about 6:30, I see a lot of people out doing yard work. They're out walking their dogs. They don't have to work during the hottest times of the day because they're retired. But we advise anybody, if you don't have to, don't go out in the sun between 11 and 4:30 or 5 o'clock because that's the hottest time of the day.
Right.
You want to go out early. Try to get everything done by 8 a.m. Just say from 6 to 8 if you have to do yard work, or if it has to be later, you could go between, say, 6:30 to 7:30 because the light is light later in the evening during this time of the year.
Right.
Also, you want to hydrate. If you get dehydrated and you don't drink enough fluid, including water and or electrolytes, you're more vulnerable. If you're somebody that's got chronic medical conditions, like you're on certain medicines like diuretics, you're more vulnerable to a heat stroke. And then the buddy system. If you're out in the yard or you're working on a site in the day, have somebody watch you. We used to do it in the Army. We used to watch somebody, and if they start showing signs and symptoms, we get them out of there for safety.
Absolutely, Dr. Quinn. Those are great tips there.